Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today's story is about a genius who lit up the world with electricity, Nikola Tesla. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Child of Light. On a stormy midnight in 1856, the sky over the village of Smiljan cracked open with bolts of white fire. As thunder rattled the windows of a small house, a baby boy was born. The midwife, trembling at the roaring sky, whispered that the storm was a bad omen, but its mother, holding him close, disagreed. "No," she said firmly, "he will be a child of light." They named him Nikola. Nikola grew up watching his mother Duka work wonders with her hands. She was an inventor who crafted clever tools to help with the housework, from mechanical egg beaters to intricate looms. Nikola sat by her feet, mesmerized. She taught him that the world wasn't just made of wood and stone, but of ideas waiting to be built. Nikola's older brother, Dane, was his greatest hero. Dane was brilliant and kind, and the two brothers spent their days exploring the rugged hills of Croatia. They chased the wind and watched the eagles soar, sharing secrets about the mysteries of the universe. Nikola felt that with Dane by his side, anything was possible. But a heavy shadow soon fell over the family. A tragic accident took Dane's life, leaving the house in a silence so deep it felt like a physical weight. Nikola was heartbroken. The loss of his brother changed him, pulling him away from the outside world and into the vast, quiet landscapes of his own mind. In his grief, strange things began to happen. When Nikola closed his eyes, brilliant flashes of light exploded in his vision. Vibrant images of places he'd never been and machines he'd never seen appeared before him as clearly as if they were real. At first, it was frightening, but soon Nikola realized he had a unique gift. He discovered he could build entire inventions inside his head. He didn't need a pencil or paper. He could visualize every screw, gear, and wire. He would set these mental machines into motion, watching them run for weeks to see which parts would wear out first. His imagination became his laboratory. Nikola's father, Milutin, was a priest and a man of books. He wanted Nikola to follow in his footsteps and join the clergy. He brought Nikola to his vast library, hoping the ancient texts would steer him toward a life of prayer. But Nikola's mind was already tuned to a different frequency, the frequency of science. At 17, a new storm arrived. Nikola fell terribly ill with cholera. For 9 long months, he lay in bed, his strength fading until he could barely speak. The doctors shook their heads, and his family feared the worst. The boy who dreamed of light was fading into the dark. One afternoon, his father came to his son's bedside, his heart breaking. Nikola looked at his father and whispered, "Perhaps I may get well if you will let me study engineering." Seeing the spark of hope in his son's eyes, Milutin squeezed his hand and promised, "You shall go to the best technical institution in the world." As if by a miracle, Nikola began to recover. The promise of a future filled with sparks and steel gave him the strength to stand again. He left his small village behind, carrying nothing but his visions and his mother's inventive spirit. The child of light was ready to step out of the shadows and change the world forever. Chapter 2. The Current of Change. In 1875, Nikola arrived at the university in Graz with a mind like a lightning storm. While other students looked at the clunky Graham dynamo sparking and sputtering with direct current, Nikola saw a flaw. He told his professor, Anton, that the sparks were wasted energy. "We can build a motor without them," Nikola insisted. Anton laughed, telling the young man that such a feat was impossible, like turning a steady stream into a swirling whirlpool and back again. Years later, in 1882, Nikola was walking through a park in Budapest with his friend Laszlo. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of gold, a sudden vision struck Nikola. He didn't see the trees or the sunset. He saw a shimmering, rotating magnetic field. Using a wooden stick, he began frantically drawing diagrams in the dusty path. "Look, Laszlo," he cried. "This is it. Alternating current. It will carry power across the world." With nothing but a letter of recommendation and his brilliant dreams, Nikola sailed to New York in 1884. He went straight to the laboratory of the most famous man in America, Thomas. Thomas was the king of electricity, but his direct current could only reach a few blocks. Nikola believed he could fix Thomas's struggling machines. Thomas looked the young immigrant up and down and gave him a challenge. "Improve my dynamos, and I'll pay you $50,000. Nikola worked for months, sleeping only a few hours a night and redesigning Thomas's machines until they hummed with new life. When the work was done, Nikola asked about the $50,000 he had been promised. Thomas let out a loud, mocking laugh. "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor," he said, refusing to pay a single cent. Heartbroken and insulted, Nikola picked up his hat and walked out of the laboratory forever. The winter that followed was the darkest time of Nikola's life. Without a job or home, he was forced to work as a laborer, digging long, icy trenches through the streets of New York. The man who could visualize the future of the world was now shivering in the mud, holding a heavy iron shovel instead of a drafting pen. Every strike of the shovel against the frozen earth felt like a reminder of his lost dreams. But Nikola's genius could not be buried in a ditch. Word of his ideas reached a daring businessman named George. Unlike Thomas, George saw the brilliance in Nikola's alternating current. George visited Nikola, shaking his hand with genuine respect. "I believe in your vision, Nikola," he said. "Together, we will light up the country." They formed a partnership, and a war of currents officially began. Thomas was not going to give up his empire easily. He began a fierce propaganda campaign to make people afraid of Nikola's alternating current. Thomas stood before crowds, showing them scary demonstrations and claiming that AC was a deadly, untamable beast. He printed posters and paid for newspaper stories that called Nikola's invention a death current. The city was filled with fear, and it seemed like Nikola's dream might flicker out. The ultimate test came in 1893 at the Great World's Fair in Chicago. George and Nikola had won the contract to light the entire event. On the opening night, the president pushed a button, and in a single heartbeat, nearly 100,000 light bulbs flickered to life. The fairgrounds were transformed into a shimmering city of white fire. Nikola and George stood before the glowing fountains, proving to the world that alternating current was safe, beautiful, and the way of the future. The victory at the fair led to Nikola's greatest achievement yet, taming the mighty Niagara Falls. In 1896, he designed massive turbines that used the power of the falling water to create electricity. He stood on the banks of the roaring river, watching as the invisible energy was sent through wires all the way to the city of Buffalo, miles away. It was the first true power plant of the modern age. Nikola had won. He had proven that light could be carried across mountains and rivers to reach every home. He never cared for the money Thomas had stolen. He only cared about the spark of discovery. As he looked out over the glowing skyline of the city he helped build, Nikola knew the truth his mother had always told him. He was, and always would be, the child of light. Chapter 3. The Eternal Spark. By the dawn of the 20th century, Nikola was the wizard of New York. However, as he walked the bustling city streets, his mind hummed with curious rhythms. He felt a deep need to count every step he took. If the total didn't divide perfectly by 3, he would walk around the block to start again. He was a man who saw the hidden math in everything, from the vibrations of the sidewalk to the stars above. At dinner, Nikola's habits were even more peculiar. He required exactly 18 clean napkins at his table, stacked in perfect piles. Before he would take a single bite, he used a silver spoon to measure the volume of his soup, calculating the exact amount of energy he was about to consume. His waiter, Silas, watched in silent wonder. Nikola was brilliant, but he lived in a world of rules that only he understood. In 1901, Nikola moved to the shores of Long Island to build his greatest dream, the Wardenclyffe Tower. It was a giant skeleton of wood and iron stretching 187 feet into the sky, like a crown for the earth. Nikola didn't just want to send telegrams, he wanted to pull energy from the air itself. He dreamed of a world where every person, no matter how poor, could have free light and information. To build his tower, Nikola needed a partner with deep pockets. He met with a lister, the most powerful banker in the world. A lister was a man of cold gold and hard facts, more interested in profits than dreams. Nikola showed him the blueprints for a wireless world. "This will change everything, Lister," Nikola promised. Lister agreed to fund the project, seeing a chance to control the very air people breathed. But when Lister realized Nikola's plan was to give power away for free, his face turned to stone. "If I can't put a meter on it to charge people for every spark, I won't pay for it," Lister declared. He pulled his support, leaving the great tower a hollow, unfinished shell. Nikola watched in silence as his dream was eventually torn down for scrap metal, his heart breaking with every falling beam. The years that followed were quiet and lonely. Nikola moved from one hotel to another, his pockets growing empty while his ideas grew even bolder. A kind hotel maid named Ilara often found him in his small room, surrounded by blueprints for robots and machines that could see through walls. He was no longer the star of the city, but a ghost haunting its grand velvet lobbies. Nikola's only real escape was the city park. While the rest of New York rushed by in a blur of greed and noise, he spent hours on the wooden benches sharing his last crumbs with the birds. He felt more at home with the creatures of the air than the people of the city. To him, the pigeons weren't just birds. They were messengers from a simpler, kinder world. There was one pigeon in particular that stole his heart, a beautiful snowy white bird with light gray tips on her wings. Whenever Nikola whistled, she would fly straight to his shoulder, cooing softly against his ear. "I love that pigeon as a man loves a woman," he once whispered. In her gentle presence, he found the peace that the noisy world of machines could never give him. On a cold night in January 1943, Nikola sat alone in room 3327 of the Hotel New Yorker. The city outside was humming with the very electricity he had mastered, but his room was silent and still. He looked out the window at the lights of Manhattan, a map of his own life's work. At 86 years old, the child of light finally closed his eyes for a long, well-earned rest. Nikola died with very little money, but he left the world a treasure beyond counting. Today, when a young boy named Leo uses a remote control or watches a screen light up without a single wire, he is touching Nikola's mind. Nikola's lonely end was just the beginning of our future, a world powered by the dreams of a man who saw lightning where others saw only the dark. That was the story of Nikola Tesla, the genius who lit up the world. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe for more stories in simple English. See you next time.